He said, all right, all right, all right. I said, let's do a podcast. Let's sit down. Let's get a coffee. Let's just talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. Coffee with the Sam. Got a little podcast. Grab yourself a little coffee and a podcast.
What's happening, guys? Wow, I feel like I've been away for a very, very long time. What's been happening? What's been happening with you? What's been happening with me? God, we've been busy, man. I think I've been back. I haven't been here since January. I feel like I'm new in this studio again. I need to be. Oh, but I'm back. I'm back, and I'm bringing you bigger and better guests. And my live show, guys, Coffee with Sam and Friends. Welcome to my mind, 2023. Date has been launched, Friday the 15th of September. We will be bringing the show back to the theatre, but we're coming to Nuneaton this year. The Abbey Theatre in Nuneaton, Friday the 15th of September. Coffee with Sam and Friends show. Welcome to my mind. A variety show like no other. Guys, get your tickets at ticketsource.com or head to the link in my bio or even the link below this episode. So, today's guest, ladies and gentlemen, coffee freaks, stimulation warriors. I am bringing you an amazing guest today, guys. So, this person, whilst being in the military and serving our country, was the winner of the 10th series of Britain's Got Talent. The winner, guys, of Britain's Got Talent. And to date, is the only magician to ever win Britain's Got Talent. Since then, this person has performed at the Royal Variety and toured many, many successful personal shows. This person has also won the highest honour within the Magic Circle, the prestigious Gold Star. So please welcome into the show the amazing, the magical Richard Jones, or should I say Lance Corporal Richard Jones. Welcome to the show, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited.
Thanks for joining me. I think we've got a slight delay, so I will try and stop in between things I say. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I probably look very tired, no doubt. We've been on the road for the last 2 weeks. We've just started the tour for this year. So my show, we've been all over the country. Just come back from Norfolk last night. So that was a long drive. Yeah, no, we're having a good time. We're enjoying it. We've got lovely audiences. So yeah, I'm in my element. I'm really happy at the minute. So thank you.
With your shows, do you travel everything yourself, all the gear you take with you and stuff like that? You're like a one-man band, or?
Yeah, so we have some of the bigger venues. I have a team of 5 who come along and help set up because we have slightly different setups for the bigger venues. But the majority of the venues are around about 500 seats, and that is just me and my girlfriend. We have a van that we take all the props in. We turn up. We spend the first probably 2 hours setting up all the props on stage, and then we do the sound and the light tests. My girlfriend cues all the lighting, all the sound, and all that kind of stuff. And then we pack it all down again after the show, and then we have a long drive back to the next place. So I do all the driving. So I'm more of a trucker than I am a magician because I spend most of my time behind the wheel.
Traveling.
But it's good fun. I'm lucky. During COVID, I got a really comfortable a comfortable van. It's a converted camper van, so it's nice and comfortable. So it's a nice and easy drive. So
that's the sides that people don't see, though. I know we're going to get into it because we got into it on our pre-podcast conversation, but people think, oh, you win this big TV show, you're now touring, they probably expect you to be driven from place to place.
Yeah, no doubt.
And all your gear gets taken for you, and you just literally turn up 10 minutes before the show starts, do your thing, and leave again. But you did get into that. What was it like? We'll get into how the show went and stuff like that, but the bit that really interests me is after, post-show. Is it all glitz and glamour, or is it all like you're doing already now with the hard work, driving here, there, everywhere?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll start with the where people expect you to be kind of driven and chauffeured around everywhere you go. The thing, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't choose that anyway. Mainly because as a magician, I am so it's so important. All of my props are all sorted and ready and on stage because I can imagine if I was a singer, if I was Ollie Murs, you could probably turn up at showtime, walk on stage, and someone's already sound checked your mic, and you can go on and do a show. But as a magician, I need to know where everything is. I need to do talkthroughs to check that everything's in the right places, right, and things in the right pockets. What I'm going to say, I have to. There's a lot of script that I have to remember, so I like to go through that as I walk around the stage in rehearsals. So there's a lot more that can go wrong because if you walk on stage and you're about to do something, you suddenly realise the most key ingredient item, whatever it is to what you're about to do, isn't in the right place because someone forgot or they put it somewhere else. Then it's the only person who looks bad is the person on stage. So I like to make sure everything's in my control. So if anything ever does go wrong, I know I can only blame myself. I would hate to rely on all of those little bits on someone else. But yeah, like I say, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't. But I don't have the option anyway. Really, to make a tour feasible and doable, you have to do the majority of it yourself. Really, you can't really have too many people in the team, otherwise it just sucks all the money out of the show and you end up losing money doing the show. There's a lot of pressure to make it worth like feasible to even put it on in the first place. Especially now it's slightly more tricky. We have to put a little bit more money into PR now since COVID, because people are still, they're not scared to go into the theatre, of course, but they are a little bit later that deciding to book. Now, there's something we've realised is, I think people have got in the habit of seeing that something's going to be on and then not booking it straight away and then just wanting to turn up on the night. So we're finding out that there was so Norfolk was one of the venues that, in all honesty, was slightly emptier than all the others. All the others have been pretty much sellouts up to this point, but Norfolk wasn't. And then on the day, we just had loads of people turn up on the day, which was lucky for us. But you can't predict that in advance. You don't know if you're going to walk on stage and it will be what you saw online before the show, or whether you will get people coming along. So it's a little bit more pressurizing now since COVID, but it's all good. And going back to what you asked about after the show, glitz and glamour, yeah, of course you get invited to lots of fancy events and that kind of stuff. But you have to be careful, because when I came off the show, I was going to lots of events, like all over the place, supporting different charity events and appearances at different places. And after 6 months of turning up to 5-6 events every week to support different charities and different events, you suddenly realize that actually you've not been paid for 6 months. You need to start earning money. So you got to be careful those showbiz things you get invited to, because you need to focus on whatever your talent is, to go and showcase that and earn a living from it. So yeah, I kind of started cutting down that, and now I focus mainly on putting on shows and doing what I love to do, magic events.
So what is it like after the show? Is there support, or is it literally you win and then there may be some things after, like you got to do the special they did, didn't you, which was just magicians?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then they sometimes do their tour, but then is that it? Any
Yeah,
support?
I am very close to sneezing right now. Just, at some point I'm going to sneeze real bad. I'm right on the cusp of sneezing.
Let's let it go, man.
Right now. No, yes, it's a good question. So it is very interesting that it's probably not what people expect, and it probably wasn't what I expected. When you come off the show, essentially that's the moment you have to really start working hard, because that window, probably that first 6 months really is your window to try and show your face in as many places as possible and spread the word about what it is that you love to do, and make your mark in the industry. And you are very much on your own. You do get a management who kind of look after you, but they just deal with emails really. It's down to you to go and push yourself. So I was very lucky. I stayed in the army for many years after BGT anyway, and I was just doing shows in the evening and at weekends for a long time. So I didn't feel particularly stressed about it, because I was doing what I loved, being in the army and doing magic at the same time. But But yeah, you are very much left to your own to kind of make your own path, which, to be honest, is important. I think that's an important part of the process. I think if you come off the show and people are looking after you too much and not allowing you to get on to do your own stuff, eventually when that does die down, you then have no idea how to do anything yourself. I was quite lucky. I felt it was quite a good thing that I had to suddenly start working really hard and figuring out how the industry worked and who I needed to be talking to and dealing with and what I needed to be doing. I'm lucky that I was forced to learn that, because now I'm in a much better position than I would have been otherwise.
Yeah, so you're in the military, so you're naturally quite driven anyway. And very successful in the military. So like to come out of that and, like you say, be mollycoddled will be a bit strange for someone like yourself. Do you think
Yeah.
though that you can see how these shows can make people struggle after them because they're however many months or weeks you're in this little bubble, and then if you do win or you're top 5 or top 10, you're still get risen to this level of fame. But then if there isn't support after it or any help after it, people like yourself who aren't driven or understand what's about to happen, can you see that?
Oh yeah,
Think...
it is a hard thing to go through. I think if I didn't win, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I think even if I came second, I don't think I would have been able to do this I would have been able to, but it would have been a lot harder. I feel very lucky that I am branded as a winner. That helps me a lot. But I do understand that obviously every year you get 10 people in the final of obviously X Factor's not on anymore, but use that as an example. Every year you get 10 people on who are great at what they do, and also very similar to people who did something similar last year. And I think BGT's slightly better for it because everyone's slightly different, so there's less similarities. But for example, X Factor, every year you get 10 people who are amazing at what they do, but they are very similar and just as amazing as the people the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before that. So it's very easy to just become a statistic, a number out of, and it loses its special meaning to a certain extent, and which it probably doesn't to most people, but watching the show. But to the actual people that have been on the show, for example, if they're not getting bookings coming in, it's very easy for them to feel very down about that and blame themselves and feel not worthy enough, because 6 months before they were on live TV and they got 6,000 followers overnight, and then now they're not gigging. It's mental health wise, that's quite a difficult thing to deal with for sure, no doubt at all. But I think a lot of that is down to the expectation of the show. You expect to come off and just have loads of gigs given to you. But then, and like I said, that's the interesting thing is really when I came off the show, I realized that actually to get gigs, you have to work really hard yourself. It's BGT or X Factor doesn't do it for you. It just gives you that first level on that platform, and then you jump off of it, and then you've got to figure out how to get back up yourself. So yeah, I can understand it will be real tough and on a lot of people, and at times it has been really tough on me for sure.
Well, I'm glad you got through it. I'm glad you are successful, and I'm glad you have built something off the back of it, because there's a lot of people that don't. As you're drinking, how'd you take your coffee, Richard?
Just milk. There we go. And I was going to say a minute ago, hold on a minute, I'm having coffee with Sam, and I haven't seen you even with a coffee yet. But then I saw, as I started talking a minute ago, I saw you do have one. There you go. Oh, I haven't got a branded cup. You could have sent me one of those in advance, couldn't you?
Sorry, Richard. I'll get one in the post to you. I'm the same. Basic, just white coffee. That's it.
Nice.
A little bit of milk. What was that feeling like winning? Let me take you back to, like, obviously there's all talk. You could win. You might win. You're standing there. There's two of you. You're about to be called, and then your name is called. What does that feel like?
It was quite a surreal moment, because I remember there was a magician called Jamie on the year before me who did amazing, and he came second. And I always remember watching that moment and feeling my heart racing for him, thinking, God, that must be such a good moment to be a part of. And then obviously a year later, then I was in that exact position, and all I could think about was, oh my God, I was watching this exact moment on TV last year. This is crazy. But interesting, there is a long story behind my fascination with talent shows, and that goes back to, I think it was 2006, when Leona Lewis won the X Factor. And I do talk sometimes for different companies, and I mentioned this in my talk, that I always remember as a kid seeing the moment she won. It was just the most special thing. You had the gold confetti coming down. She was singing A Moment Like This. She'd just been crowned the winner. And then, as cheesy as it sounds, I always remember getting really emotional and thinking, wow, I'd love a moment like that. That's just great. Like, that's got to be the epitome of happiness. That's such a nice moment to know that so many people voted for you in that moment. It's lovely. So I always thought I would love a moment like that. And anyway, years went by, and I believe it's around 2010, maybe 2011. I saw the auditions for Britain's Got Talent were taking place, and this is before I was a magician. I didn't really know any tricks at this time, but I always loved the idea of being and winning a talent show. So I got my guitar out and I got on a train to go down to audition for Britain's Got Talent. And I'm very bad at guitar, and I'm not a great singer either. But I on the train, I was kind of learning the chords for Wonderwall, and I thought I'll just go in there, sing Wonderwall, and they'll just love me, and I'll end up winning. This is great. And I was so naive that I hadn't put any work into actually learning the guitar properly or being able to sing. So the idea of me wanting to be on the show was there, but I was just not ready at all. So anyway, I bottled it and ended up going home, because my mum called me and said, "Oh, where are you today?" And I said, "I'm away to audition for Britain's Got Talent." She said, what are you going to do? And I said, sing and play guitar. And at this point, she'd never even heard me sing and play guitar. So she thought that was quite funny. And then in the end, I ended up bottling it. I went home. And then obviously a few years later, I started learning magic and got into magic, and then ended up auditioning as a magician. And obviously then I got my Leona Lewis moment, which was really special. But a big part of my process, I think, was that failure of getting on the train with the guitar and having that realization that I hadn't put any work into it, and I didn't deserve to be doing this audition. Because then the second time around, when I was a magician, I was a bit more prepared, because I realized that you might only get one shot at something like this. So I need to make sure I was super prepared. And interestingly, something I used to do a lot was visualization. And before a few weeks before the BGT auditions, every morning I'd wake up and I'd close my eyes. I'd listen to Zadok the Priest, which I wish I had a cue for so I could play for you. But Zadok the Priest is the big coronation music, and it's an amazing piece of music. And I used to listen to that and just imagine walking out onto stage, into the lights, into a theatre stage. And I used to visualize this every morning, just for confidence, just to make me feel like I'm ready for this. And anyway, I'd do that pretty much every day. Ended up auditioning for BGT. That was great. Didn't tell anyone about this visualization process. It was just something for me to feel more confident, so that when I did go onto the stage, maybe I'd feel like I'd already been there, already done it, so I'm not as nervous. And it definitely worked. And then the interesting thing is, on the night that I won, all the stage doors are closed. We're me and the other 9 acts in the final behind this big wall that's going to open up with big TV screen. And they count us down. They say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The doors start opening, and we walk out into the light. All these bright lights, live on TV, 16 million people watching live. And the music that they just so happened to choose at that point was Zadok the Priest.
No.
It was weird.
Get
It was
out of here.
really, really bizarre. And I hadn't told anyone about this visualization process that I was doing. So at that point, I always say it was like a message from someone
That's
somewhere in the
insane.
universe that I'd won. And I was getting really emotional at that point. So yeah, I'm sure it's just a crazy coincidence, but it was a real special moment when I walked on that stage.
So you knew then you'd won.
And ended up winning. Yeah, it was weird. I was more emotional when I heard that music than I was when I won, because I already felt like it was already a sign to say you've won this. So yeah, and it was overwhelming to know that so many people, just like had happened when I watched Leona Lewis all these years ago, so many people have picked up the phone to vote to help her and me get to where we wanted to be. So it's just a lovely, overwhelming feeling. It was good, really good.
That's a good thing. I want to pick up on that visualization process that you were saying you did, because some people can naturally just be in front of people or stand and be on stage and remember things. But I have to do what you do, because if I rush out or go straight onto stage, I am the worst for having mind fog and just blanking.
Yeah.
Even though I'm comfortable and I'm happy there, if I haven't thought about that moment, I'm such a nightmare to be like, oh, I don't remember what I'm doing here. What am I meant to be saying? So
Yeah.
that process is really good for someone to learn or to think about doing, because it can help you. And one bit of information I got about going out on stage was someone just said to me, slow down. Because if you do get lost or forget anything, you can pick back up if you're going slow. But I used to rush out. I'd be on the mic and I'd be like, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. Or even the podcast, I'd get straight into it. Da, 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 and then I'd get lost. And the guests would just look at me. And I've gone so fast that you can tell you're thinking. And I'd do it on stage. And someone said to me, just slow yourself down.
Mm.
But
It's
you
good
can,
advice. Yeah.
yeah. And that goes along with that visualization process as well, though, because you can walk out on stage kind of already being there, even if you haven't been there. So you
Yeah.
can take your time and you visualize things going wrong, not going wrong, going right. You can pick back up. So I think that's some really good advice. To know that
It's basically I tell people that the only way to get good at anything is to do it over and over and over again. The more you do anything, the better that you get. Now, obviously, when you're going to walk out onto stage for the first time, you don't have that chance to actually have done it hundreds of times. But the more you visualize it, that is to a certain extent just like rehearsing and actually being through it hundreds of times. So it works in the same way. So and like you say, the more you do whatever you do, just the better you get. Know what you can't ever like. I understand that I can't expect to be great at the guitar, having just pulled it out of the case and just strumming chords for the first time. I learned that the hard way. But yeah, you've really got to put in the time, and visualization is a great fast track for that, for sure.
what a story that'd have been though if you'd actually gone an audition and they could have looked back like years ago on, or how many ever years it was before, on you really badly singing and playing the guitar, and then
Yeah, it
now
would have
you're
been
there.
quite a good flashback for them to show on TV. But yeah, it would have
um,
been. Yeah.
have you always been a performer? So like younger.
Always been a musician. So I started learning the trombone in primary school and then piano in secondary school. And I was always in bands and orchestras. And when I joined the army, I joined as part of the band of the parachute regiment. So I was a trombonist and a pianist in the parachute regiment band, and then the household cavalry band. So I was always been a part of the big performances that the army put on. Um, Never really been the I mean, I used to do solos occasionally, but I was never really the front person for any of those bands. But I always enjoyed being on stage and doing a performance. Yeah, it was always part of what excited me, for sure.
That's crazy. I used to be in a marching band. That's how I
Oh,
started
did you
mine.
really?
But
Yeah, no
yeah,
way.
I used to play the drums, snare drum or quads in a marching band.
Nice.
Not military, but just just a normal performing, go to
Do you have a
competitions and
band
perform.
with the cheerleading stuff? Is there a band that?
No, because it's like all star, so they compete against each other. So it's not like cheering for teams. You'll compete against another cheer team.
Right.
So yeah, it's not your
I feel
American
like they
movie.
should all have a little marching band that brings them out, though, right? I
Yeah,
feel like that would be cool.
it's not your American dream type of cheerleading.
Right. Feel like
So
Yeah, they do it. It's very differently there with thousands of people in the stadiums all drumming and yeah, that's pretty
yeah, so
impressive.
that's like your
They're
original
marching bands.
cheer, like your original cheer, like 'cause that's what cheerleading was created for. As I'm gonna give you a history lesson here, it was men who wanted to make their football team play better.
All right.
So they would cheer on the side like a crowd, and then realize that if they did like synchronized stuff, they'd get more attention, so the crowd would get more behind the team. So then they worked out if they got girls involved, even more people would cheer for them, which then would cheer for their team, and that's how cheerleading came about. It was actually
Right. Oh,
men. It was actually
nice.
invented by men. Um,
Very cool.
yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. Why magic then?
Uh, so I mean, I don't think I think magic for me is the interest is something that fascinates me. I feel like everyone has something that fascinates themselves, and that's why everyone's got different and unique talents. But for me, the thing I look out for when I do a magic trick is the kind of gap, the window between when you finish the magic moment. You kind of see a little window of when everyone's eyes kind of complete confusion combined with wonder and just complete. I can't really explain it, but like a void happens in people's minds between the moment the magic trick has happened and maybe 2-3 seconds, sometimes even longer, where all of a sudden, I like to describe it as all of a sudden you feel like anything could be possible. It's that lovely moment where because we're all brought up and we're all raised with limitations. We're always told throughout life it's just natural the way we all communicate with each other and the way school works. We're always told that you can't do this because of this reason. You can't do this. You got to follow this rule. You got to follow this rule. This is the law of science. This is you can't be you can't be a dancer because of this reason, or you can't be good at this because of this. But then the beauty of magic is all of a sudden it takes a limitation, something that science says you can't do, and a rule that we've always been told isn't possible, and then it suddenly breaks that, and all of a sudden you realize that maybe anything could be possible. It kind of, once you've broken one little rule, your mind opens up in a big way. And I think I always see a few seconds of that special moment where all our boundaries break in people's minds. That boundary always comes back after a few seconds or sometimes longer. But it is a beautiful moment that magic creates for people. Because I feel like we're all limitless. We can all do whatever we want, but we're all stuck underneath our own limits that are set throughout social conditioning over our entire life, if that makes sense.
I like that. And I like what you do with your show, which I find it's with the bits I've seen of it. I'm actually gutted that I can't come to your Midlands date because I'm actually performing somewhere on that night.
I'll let you off.
But but what I have seen of your show is I really like your audience engagement. You've got people from the audience on stage. You break that third wall. You go down into the audience. You involve them. You don't just get on stage and it's a show. I really love that you basically give everyone that feeling that you enjoy in magic because they're on the stage with you. They feel that that excitement, that mysterious around how did you do that? How did that happen? I think the one I watched of yours was the Rubik's Cube where you make it look like he looks like he's solved it behind his back or whatever, and his face, the joy in his face to be how have you done that is incredible, that you get other people to feel how you feel. I think that's
exactly. That's 100%. I'm pleased you picked up on that because that's exactly what I aim to do, because people come to the show expecting me to do impossible things because I'm a magician. They're coming to see that. What they're not expecting is for actually me to step to one side and get someone out of the audience to do that impossible thing for me. And it makes it such a more powerful and special moment because, like I say, I'm trying to break those walls to make us all feel like we can do more than we realize. So by getting someone out of the audience and then everyone witnessing that someone else who didn't realize they were going to be able to do something impossible suddenly do it in front of their eyes, it makes everything much more powerful. So all my shows are very interactive. I do get people up on stage, but even everyone in the room who doesn't come on stage, I try to create an atmosphere where we're all part of a big experience all together, and we're going through this big story and this big experience all as one, as opposed to them coming to sit and watch a show. If they're just going to come and sit and watch a show, they might as well watch a magician on YouTube. I'd much rather more of them come to my show and feel a part of it. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's a niche thing to do, really. I think it's like you say, his face is not even like how. It's like, wow, did I do that or did he do that or what? The enjoyment on his face is just like I did that or maybe I didn't. Who did it? I think that's pretty cool that you found a way to let other people feel what you're feeling when you have that little special moment you have when people realize that you've done the impossible. I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to, a bit like a comedian can make people feel really good. You're not just making people go, wow. You're making them, like you say, believe in the impossible. Do you
I like to believe a lot of the people who come up on stage and are volunteers in my shows, I like to believe a lot of them go away and maybe want to learn magic themselves and go on and do that. Because actually I was called onto stage, would have been probably 2010 again. I was called onto stage at Darren Brown's show in the West End. And that was the first time I saw that. I got that exact same feeling. I was on stage and I looked out and saw just how much of an impact the moment of magic had on everyone in the audience, something that he'd just done on me. And that made me want to that was a big point in making me want to start magic. So I like to think I'm passing that on in some way, and hopefully there'll be thousands of magicians in the next couple of years because of me.
I think it's one. I think it's an art that will start to grow and come back again.
Mm,
I really do, because I think it's cool, man. Like if I could do sleight of hand, that's what I enjoy. The when you're thinking, I'm always one of those people who are trying to work out how you've done something. Is there a trapdoor? Is there a fan? Is there a light? Is there something? Da, da, da,
mm,
da, da. But I love sleight of hand because there's no illusion. It's in your face, and it's just how well someone is at their art. To
mm.
and I'm that astounds me when like the Rubik's Cube thing. It I love that
Yeah.
you can do what you do so well you can't even see you can't even see what's going on, like, and card tricks and things like that. It blows my mind to the
Well,
hours you
that's
must have to
why.
put in.
So is for exactly that reason we in our live tour show we have big stuff that everyone can see from where they're sat, but we also have a couple of nice intimate moments where we'll have a spotlight on a table and a camera, and they'll see something really clear on the screen, something happening right in front of their eyes, because everyone likes magic for different reasons, and I love that close stuff where it's really fair, and that's part of my favorite part of the show. But the thing that makes a good piece of magic is a magician who has thought about all those questions that you mentioned a moment ago in advance and kind of covers those in the performance. So for example, like someone who loves magic but also is skeptical but maybe wants to learn how things are done as well, and they're maybe thinking maybe there's a trapdoor, maybe there's a light here, maybe it's this. The thing that makes a great piece of magic is a magician who's thought about all of those questions that people might ask, and subtly within the performance eliminates those as potential ways of it happening. So you might be thinking, oh, it's going to be a trapdoor, it's going to be a trapdoor. Then all of a sudden he moves away and does something in the crowd, and it happens. Or maybe he says it's because of the lighting, and then maybe the lighting changes so that it's really clear. Or so it's or maybe they think, I don't know, there's strings attached to them, so then they wave their hands over whatever they're doing. Or so it's subtly trying to break all of those things so that everyone in the audience thinking, I know how he does this. Gradually, one at a time, they're all thinking, oh, okay, that's
Maybe I don't.
what I thought. Yeah.
Do you do on your tour show, because a lot of your stuff is quite close up, and the stuff you did on the show as well? Do you do big tricks, like, are you into that type of magic, like where you disappear
We
or where someone disappears? Or
not so much. We do have large things going on stage. We have large props and stuff, but I don't do what typically most people would associate as illusions in terms of big boxes where like a lady's going to appear, or a dog's going to appear, or you're going to set fire to something. Or I don't do anything like that. It's not really my style. The majority of what I do is mainly mind related, but visually as well. I mean, the person who I admire the most is Darren Brown, and I guess a lot of my influence in the kind of performing I do is typically like that. It uses props and the audience and their engagement, and everything links together nice and cleanly. But we're not wheeling on big boxes and cutting people in half and wheeling them off again. It's not that. Which I love that kind of stuff, but it's not really. For that kind of stuff, I think it's a different kind of showbiz. For that, I feel like I would need to have a really ripped body, walk on, rip a shirt off, cut someone in half, roll around in a fire cage, and then walk on, off again, stick another jacket on, walk on, rip that jacket off, and then do something else flashy. I just can't pull off that really flashy, cool
yeah,
vibe.
like you say, it's
It would
different.
just look really odd.
That's more showy, whereas what you do is more crowd control. You engage a crowd, you bring them in, you take them on the journey, and then you show them something cool at the end. Like, whereas, like you say, that's more of on stage,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of, when I come out on stage, I want everyone to feel like I'm just like them. We're all in this together and we're all going to do something amazing. Whereas exactly what you just said, I think the big fire stuff and the big illusions where you're wheeling boxes on and off, I think that is more of a magic show where you sit and watch what's happening. You're less involved. Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. I'm gonna remember that. It's a better way of describing how I feel.
You have to do the As
Yeah,
well, though,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah,
Do you have a favorite trick? Or yeah, trick. I felt like I called it
So I
something
used
wrong
to
then.
perform. I used to perform a lot in uniform. I don't do it anymore. But I used to perform in uniform, and there was one very special show I did in London a few years ago, and lots of really well-known faces came to the show. And on the front row, we had Dawn French, who I was a big fan of, and so I got her up on stage and did some magic with her, which was really fun. And also Prince William was in the crowd, and I knew he was coming because I'd been notified a few weeks in advance to say, just so you know, you're doing a show in London, and His Royal Highness Prince William will be there. And so I thought, oh, that's exciting. I'd love to use him in a piece of magic. That'd be great. So I sent a letter to the palace, which is the protocol, just to say,
As you
would
do.
he mind? Yeah, would he mind if I got him on stage and did some magic with him? And it got to the day and I still hadn't had a reply. So in my mind, I thought, well, no reply isn't a no, so I'm just going to do it. But obviously he wasn't expecting it. So it got to the night and I walk out to stage and I see where he is straight away. He's only a few rows in. And I also see a lot of other scary looking people, all nicely dressed, but I'm thinking, okay, they're probably a security dotted around the room, all big scary blokes. And in the end, I thought I'll do one of my more dangerous tricks, which involved my ceremonial sword. So I pull out the ceremonial sword and I ask His Royal Highness Prince William, please join me on stage. And he couldn't really say no because everyone in the crowd was so excited when they suddenly realized he's there and he comes out onto stage. But all those big, scary looking people are now looking big, scary, but terrified as to, wow, we didn't know this was going to
There's a
happen.
dude
What's
on
going on here?
stage asking with,
So
with a
I'm,
sword.
yeah, while I'm here with a sword. And it turns out this was the first time I'd stood directly next to Prince William, and it turns out he must be 6'4", 6'5". He's a big guy, so he could have dealt with me himself anyway. But anyway, I start doing this piece of magic, and I have a few jokes in this part of this routine. It's very dangerous, but I kind of play on the jokes of the danger, and I kind of suggest that in a minute I'm going to swing the sword around, and he's going to have to duck underneath it, and all these little jokes. And I can just see more and more terror in the eyes of his security. Like, what do we do? Should we be rugby tackling him off stage right now? What should we do? And basically, I can't tell you exactly what the trick involves because sometimes I still do perform it and I want it to be a surprise for people, but it involves my ceremonial sword. It's very dangerous for me and the volunteer that I get up, but it's when it works, it's a really special moment. But the reason I love this story is I'm actually secretly a little bit disappointed because although it was great and we've got a great photo of me and him on stage, I was always a little bit disappointed that his security didn't rugby tackle me because I would have made headline news around the world if they would have. But they must have trusted me. I'm just going to see if I might even have a picture here somewhere. I might be able to drag it onto the screen and show you.
Is that your favorite moment or your favorite trick?
It's got to be. It's probably my favorite. In fact, I do have another favorite thing. In fact, in a second, let me just show you this picture. I'm sure I've got it here. I'm going to type in Prince William, and I'm sure I'll have it. Because you'll see the moment the danger happens here. Hopefully, this will come onto the screen. Here we go. So
Oh yeah,
can you see that picture there?
yeah.
So this is the moment that I just basically swung over his head and caught a card that he was thinking of on the stage. And he doesn't actually look that flustered at all. He was quite a brave guy, to be fair. I don't know if that's because he trusted me or I don't know, maybe not, but yeah, so that was one of my favorite things to do, and it's got a great story. There was also I did a dangerous show. It was called Extreme Magic last year, so this was 2022. And the idea behind the whole show was all going to be dangerous, and which isn't usually what I do. But it was a team of other magicians, and they were setting each other on fire and doing straitjacket escapes. So I thought I need to do something just as dangerous as they're doing because people are expecting it. So we came up with this idea of having little boxes, a bit like Deal or No Deal. So there'd be five Deal or No Deal boxes. And in all five of them, there would be explosives, stage explosives that would blow up. and they all had lots of wires coming out, but all the wires were mixed up, and they went to a charging station where there was 5 plungers, and each plunger would set off one of the boxes. And so we thought, okay, we'll do like a Russian roulette thing. We'll get someone up onto stage to trigger those, and I'd be trying to influence their choices kind of subliminally without them realizing. And I would pick up one of the explosives and hold on to it. And the last phase, I would put it in my mouth as we did the final 50-50 choice. And they'd be choosing some to detonate, and they'd be exploding, which was really scary, actually. And I probably wouldn't do it again because there was a couple of near misses, in fact. But I did just see a picture here. I'll show you this picture so you can kind of gauge what this kind of looks like on stage. So I was holding there. That's the charge that I'm holding, and she's just set off what looks like the middle box there.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing that was quite interesting about this is there was one night where I invited this lady up. The same as always, I take her behind where the plungers are, and I say to her, look, whatever you do not press any of the plungers until I say, I was saying fire, and then she would trigger one. So then the plan is then I would walk around, pick up one of the box's charges, and then I would instruct her. And then at that point, I would be trying to subliminally influence her to make sure that I could try my best to make sure she was triggering ones that wasn't going to blow me up. But anyway, she must have misheard. So I say to her, don't press any of the plungers until I tell you to. I turn around and I theatrically walk towards the boxes, and I'm just going down to reach for one of the explosives out of the box. And all of a sudden, the one to my left suddenly blows up. And it turned out she obviously was panicked and didn't really understand what I'd told her to do, and just was too nervous to ask again. And so as I turned away to walk around, she just went and just put one of the plungers down, and luckily it was the one just to my left, because if it was the one that I was reaching down for, it would have blown up in my face. So that's part of the reason I wouldn't do it again. But yeah, it was quite funny afterwards talking to my team and seeing how terrified they were in that moment when they see me walking to pick it up and they see her going to do this plunger. So yeah, there are some dangerous elements to doing a magic show, but that was an exceptionally dangerous magic show because it was all themed around danger. So it's not, yeah. It's
so
not
you do like the showy side of magic.
Say that again. Sorry.
You do like the showy performance side of magic.
Yeah, you know, it was fun.
You should get your top off and run around on stage.
Yeah, no, I'll stay fully clothed at all times.
Cut some people up. That type of magic's pretty cool, though. I love that you can make someone do something, as in like push a plunger just by, like you say, subliminally just dropping hints and stuff like that. I think that's amazing.
A lot of my I mean, a lot of what I do is based around that. I mean, we're all way more connected and similar than we realize. By doing certain things, it's not easy, but you can layer different influence techniques on throughout the show. Like there's certain things, like my finale to my show is based on an idea that throughout the entire the first 80 minutes of the show, when I'm on stage and when I'm not on stage, there's certain things that are happening in the room that are influencing people's minds, so that when I get to the finale, certain people in the room will probably be thinking of what I need them to think of when I need them to think of it. So yeah, so from the very moment people come into the room at 7:00, before I come on stage at 7:30, the music that they're listening to in the background and what's on the screen is all building up without them even realizing they're already being in tuned and influenced to a certain extent to be ready for what I'm going to show them.
That's crazy. What's your girlfriend like at home? What are you up to?
Oh, she totally understands everything I do. Yeah, can't get anything past her.
You're trying to do it at home. She's like, stop it. Yeah, but that's what I wanted to eat tonight. Well, you're not eating that. That's incredible, and I think that's a good place to end it, really. I didn't want to go too much into your military. It was more the magic, more the what you do as now as your career, because you're out of the military now, right?
Yeah, so I became a veteran in October 2022. Yeah, so I'm super old now, and yeah, just waiting for my pension now. 30 years to wait, something like that.
I was gonna say, I think you're only a year older than me, aren't you? 30? What are you, 32?
I'm I'm 33 this year.
Oh, 33. I thought you were 32. Not that I've been looking too much into you.
Yeah. Creepy. Hold on a minute. You're in the next running, yeah?
um, yeah, thanks for joining me. Do you have any tour dates? Anything you want to push? Get out, tell the people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I would love to have. First of all, thank you for having me on. This is lovely. I love sitting down and having a real casual chat about stuff. And this is nice, and I'm a big fan of what you're doing with this podcast. It's nice and cool. And it was also, I was going to say, it was a good time to finish it because my coffee is now really cold and it's undrinkable. So
Yeah, I've emptied mine. Mine's gone.
But yeah. So, but obviously BGT is on at the minute, which is exciting. So no doubt, lots of people who might be listening or watching this might be watching BGT. I haven't been watching it because I've been on tour. But if anyone wants to come and see a live magic show, this is my poster here. And if you can't see that, I'll put one on the other side as well. There you go. So it's got an evening of magic with Richard Jones. That's me. And we're all over between now and the 1st of June. We are pretty much all over the UK. So we're going up to Scotland and into Wales and right down south, all over. If anyone wants to come and join us, my website. Oh, sorry, I just cued music there by accident. Sorry, my fault. So yeah, if anyone wants to come and join us, richardjonesmagic.co.uk. All of my dates are on there. richardjonesmagic.co.uk. And in fact, I might even have a link. There you go.
You've done this before. Look at you go.
Yeah. Let me know if you're coming. I always love to see when people do posts and say they're on their way. And that's always good fun. And I always do a competition in the interval, which is always fun. I tell people to win a big prize in the second half, all they have to do is take a funny photo of themselves somewhere in the theatre and post it and tag me in the theatre and in the interval I look through and choose a winner. And we've had some real funny ones the last few days. We had a guy sat on the toilet in the theatre venue taking a photo. That was his entry. But he didn't win because there was one that was even better. There was someone doing a handstand on the stage.
Oh, I saw that. I think you shared that, didn't you? Did you
share
it?
I tend to share them as we go. Yeah. So come along. It'll be a lot of fun. All ages are welcome. So hopefully I'll see you all there.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, like I say, I looked straight at that date after we had the conversation the other day and I was like, I think I'm north for a week.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I'd love to come and see a cheerleading competition at some point. My girlfriend used to do cheer competitively. I can't remember what her group was called, but yeah, she'd love to go and see that.
Definitely let me know. We have quite a few. We have quite a few South events. We do Crawley. We do Essex Uni. We do, that's your neck of the woods, right? That way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you did BGT as well a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I've done it. Awesome. I've done it twice now. Yeah,
that's very cool.
I did it with cheer and then did it with like an acrobatics team. I think that was the Olympic year. Yeah, we got used on the advert. That was about it, really.
For a minute though, I thought you was going to say we did it once as a cheer, and the other time I sang Wonderwall on the guitar.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I was going to say, God, you stole my life story. There you have it.
I've had the same thoughts though. I have had the same thoughts. But before we go, I have one special question I ask all of my guests. And if they're not a patron, so we've got a patron as well. If you're not a patron, this is the end of their episode. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Go follow Richard on social media and try and get to one of his shows. But if you're a patron, then basically I ask a question. I want one thing that you could pick out that is the key to where you are today. So one key to your success to where you are today. So yeah, thanks for being a guest, Richard. Thanks for giving up your time. I knew after the first meeting we had, it was going to be a good chat because I had to stop us talking that day.
It was good.
So yeah, thank you for sharing all your stories. It's been amazing.
No worries. Thanks for having me.